Should be live at any second. Okay, here we are. We are currently live. Welcome, guys. Welcome to welcome to today's live broadcast. We're talking about the Ukrainian military being railed by the Russian military. They got railed really hard.
Very, very nasty. Age verification required. That level of nasty.
That's how bad it is. Yeah.
Pretty bad.
Yeah. So, like, what was that whole counteroffensive? What happened to that? Like, what happened with that whole
Um.
thing?
Oh, the Avdiv, or what wasn't? No, it was just the spring counteroffensive, summer counteroffensive. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was supposed to be the spring summer offensive, became the summer counteroffensive, and then the summer counteroffensive is continuing in the fall as they retreat.
I don't, man. If anyone still thinks that they're gonna win the war, like it's not gonna be over tomorrow. I hope it is. I hope it is. But if anyone still thinks they're gonna pull the war out, like they're not. They're not.
Yeah, but there are people who still think that Ukraine has a chance of winning. So a veteran Republican, his name is uh, uh, Stephen Moore. He moved to Kiev after the invasion happened, like a week later,
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
and
whoa,
this
whoa!
was
No, no. It's Kiev. It's Kiev. Okay,
oh, it's Kiev. That's
Kiev.
just cringe. No, it's Kiev. Sorry, it's not
Chicken
Kiev.
Kiev.
Yeah,
Chicken
it's not
Kiev.
chicken Kiev. It's chicken Kiev. Get it
Nobody
right.
says Kiev.
Get it right, Ukrops. It's Kiev.
Well, that might have been the thing. They're too busy changing maps and signs that they forgot to fight the war.
Yeah, but according to Republican Stephen Moore, he's living there. He's just shocked that his fellow Republicans in the United States are not supporting, aid to Ukraine because it's not worth supporting. It's a corrupt country.
Yeah,
So,
like America. Ooh, I went there already.
oh yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
We are.
What about Navalny? What about Julian Assange?
Yeah.
What about Edward Snowden?
Nobody knew about Navalny
Yeah.
until he was magically reported on the news. And then, magically everyone's like, oh, Navalny, look, Putin's a dictator. Yeah. And,
Yeah, and there's a woman, I forgot her name. She ran away like a couple years before the invasion happened. She ran away to Russia because she had some dirt on the current administration. So uh basically she was afraid that she would get killed. So she ran to Russia as a place to be safe. And think about this, like what's up with American opposition leaders running to Russia? And they're not really opposition leaders. They're just regular Americans who are concerned about where America is going, and they're questioning the actions of certain political people in this country. And so once they start whistleblowing and once they start exposing, their life is threatened, and that's why like they just run to Russia, like because they know that if they go to, I don't know, Saudi Arabia or Spain or
Mhm.
Germany, they'll get extradited back to the United States,
Oh, yeah,
and
definitely.
their story will not be told.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is kind of funny that, people always complain Russia has, opposition politicians held prisoner. Um, and then they look at America that it doesn't have politicians held prisoner, but it has normal people held prisoner. I would much rather the politicians be getting arrested than normal people like Julian Assange.
Well, to be fair, Navalny was never even a politician. He was just I don't know, just some blogger on YouTube.
Some CIA
Yeah.
asset.
He was a political grifter. like temporarily like now the American left wingers who have certain similar geopolitical views, unfortunately, like they like to pull out the whole, oh, Navalny, he was part of the white pride or a neo-Nazi movement in Russia. And that was all a grift. That was all a temporary grift, right? He was just trying to kind of build it like a base of popularity. And then he instantly switched over to the whole extreme progressive left, like all the whole rainbow flags, Skittles, people. Like that's all Navalny. That's everything that Navalny supports. Well,
Yeah, it's just like
supported,
Russian Richard
past
Spencer.
tense.
Yeah, it's just a Russian Richard Spencer.
Well, I'd say even worse. I don't know if Richard Spencer supports the current LGBTQ Skittles parade folks.
AAIP. Don't forget the P, people. They will never tell you what
Yes,
the P
yeah,
means.
but Navalny, he's all like he was all into that. He supported that all the way.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, like he was extreme left wing. Like he was
Hmm.
not like he was definitely not a communist. So he was anti-communist, but he's super duper, like radical left.
Well, mind you, the communists in Russia were conservative, especially compared, like socially conservative compared to, especially like modern Republicans, even.
Yeah. Yeah, so Navalny, like, so the whole neo-Nazi part about Navalny earlier, like earlier in his political career, that was all temporary grift. And before that, he was left wing. Before that, then he kind of temporarily joined that neo-Nazi movement, and then he just kind of broke away from that and just went extreme left. So whenever so I just think it's kind of disingenuous whenever Jackson Hinkle, I don't think he's done this, but other people similar to Jackson Hinkle, they would mention Navalny being a neo-Nazi. That's just disingenuous because he never was far right. He was never a neo-Nazi. He was never really far right. He was just a grifter.
Mm-hmm.
And he was always left wing. Like he was always a left winger. And so yeah, so like that's about Navalny, but we're here to talk about Ukraine losing to Russia very recently. So you have the
Yeah.
city of Avdiivka being liberated by the Russian forces. You got the town of Lastochkina, and then you have Orlivka, and then you have Berdichi. Then there's like a fifth town too somewhere. Yeah. So yeah, like five town. The Toninkoya, that's number five. That is number five. So
Mhm.
five towns in a week. So you had Avdiivka, like obviously that one took many months. But then once Avdiivka fell, all of a sudden Russians advanced to Lasichkina 2 days later. The Ukrainians claimed, oh, Lasichkina is our next stronghold. Nope. 2 days later, it's completely gone. And then literally the day after that, Orlivka and Berdichi and Doninkoye, three towns are captured in one day.
It's
So
definitely,
and within the whole week it was five towns. Within the whole week it was five towns.
yeah, like we mentioned before in previous discussions, the pace of Russian victories is increasing, and we're going to see an increased frequency by what it seems, um, pretty much until the Ukrainians give up. American support has been waning. They sent 30 Abrams tanks, and a handful of them are already knocked out. So that's another wave of super weapons that just end up being regular weapons. I believe they have some F-16s or something that are going to hit soon, but I don't think it's going to be too little too late. And the goose is already cooked by the look of it. It's just going to be how long do they keep it in the oven? That's my little poetic wording for the
Yeah.
day.
Well, Scott Ritter, he's saying, oh, their whole army's crushed. Like I think Scott Ritter says a lot of truthful things, but I think he gets a little bit overexcited on certain issues. What do you think?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of Americans think that war is like a video game. I remember hearing reports. Several people were saying like entire
Well,
like
to be fair to Scott Ritter, he's a man of experience too.
oh I don't even know who Scott Ritter is.
Oh, I'm
Um,
sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry for bringing him up. So Scott Ritter, like he's a war expert, and he's actually one of the military personnel who told the George Bush administration, "Hey guys, there are no WMDs in Iraq. There's no reason to go there. We saw the whole thing. It's not there, so there's no reason to go to Iraq." And the politicians were saying, "So you didn't find anything at all? Like not even like a tiny little, like something, some little tiny piece of evidence?" And Scott Ritter is like testifying in military uniform, and he's saying, "No, like there's no evidence of WMDs." And
mhm.
I'm telling you guys, as a military man currently serving in the military, and I'm involved in all this stuff, and they just didn't care, and the war with Iraq still happened. And so Major Scott Ritter, he retired with the rank of major, but
Yeah.
like I recommend watching him on YouTube. But sometimes I feel like he just gets a little bit overexcited, and he's just like straight up saying, "Yeah, it's over for Ukraine,"
Oh, he
right?
was saying it was over for Ukraine.
Yeah, yeah. So he's saying it's
Oh,
over for Ukraine.
I thought he was saying it was over for Russia.
Oh no, no. So like, but he constantly gets a little bit excited, and he goes, "Oh yeah, it's over for Ukraine this time." And then if you know, but then you notice that like Russia pulls something else off, kind of gives Ukraine more
Yeah.
time to exist a little bit longer.
I mean,
But yeah,
I admire enthusiasm and I wish I could be enthusiastic, but I'm jaded. I'm Gen Z. So I'm very, very jaded. And it's practically impossible for me to get excited about things being good in the world. That being said, things are definitely going to be improving. Uh, I don't like for the Russians, not for America. Um, it seems America is going to hell,
we
unfortunately.
we want things to improve for us here, but they're not. Like, have
Yeah,
you guys seen the
unfortunately.
price for Burger King, McDonald's? Come on, guys. Like Tucker Carlson showed us like a whole like meal in McDonald's in Russia is what like $7, and and here in America like you'll pay like close to $15 like what, $15, $20 for like a whole meal.
Don't look at me, man. I don't really eat out, but I do know that
But
Tucker
as a
showed the
consumer,
metric.
you're still a consumer. You consume stuff, right? And you look at
Yes.
prices, you notice prices are changing. They're going up.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like you don't need to be like a consumer buying your Funko Pops, eating your fried chicken. Ugh. You don't need to be someone like that. Watching Marvel movies to notice that prices are continuing to climb. Uh, Everyone kind of knew that was going to happen. But yeah, definitely, it's not improving in
Well,
America.
be careful when you say everyone, because a lot of voters in America clearly did not know this was going to happen.
Every human saw it coming. Does that work?
Okay, that works. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. The average voter like does not see this coming until it hits their wallets, and they start
No.
to notice. They start to notice. Wait a minute. Like, why is this so expensive now? Like, I need to know why. They go to Google.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
this
mean,
is why.
most voters don't grasp like cause and effect. They don't think like if I get a stimulus now, then my money's going to be worth less a year from now, and then 5 years from now, after continued government spending, which is literally just printing out money and dumping it in the economy, then it's going to be worth even less. Like most people don't even understand the basic premise of inflation.
Yeah. So, like, what do you predict? Like, where are Russians going to go? Are they going to just focus on going west, or do you think they'll probably go north from the Zaporozhye direction.
I would hope they go north from Zaporozhye, just take some
Mhm.
pressure off that. The Ukrainians have been acting like that's of vital importance to them.
Mhm.
So getting some space on
Well,
that.
it's the electrical power plants. That's very
Yeah.
important.
Yep. So getting some space on that front would probably be a good thing, but whether they do or not, you know, only time will tell. Thankfully, the front seems to be moving a little quicker than it was before. Seemed like there were a few months of just nothing happening.
Yeah. So here's the thing. For the viewers, there are no Russian like meat waves, human meat waves, whatever they're called, right? Like there are no human meat waves that you see in movies where like there's 1,000 soldiers just constantly charging in one direction, and there's a small group of enemy soldiers kind of holding the line, shooting with a machine gun, mowing down the thousands of soldiers. Then eventually another thousand and another thousand keep showing up, and then eventually like the defenders of a certain line, they run out of bullets and they cannot mow down any more enemies. Like that's not what's going on the front lines in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I believe it was History Legends.
Yes,
Like the Spanish is
he made a video about that, about the
yeah,
human meat
he did.
waves.
Yeah. And like I mean, I'm sure it's happened once or twice in history, but for Russia has supposedly been using meat wave attacks for over 150 years, and they seem to be doing just fine after doing that for 150 years.
Well, like let's not forget like that's all Hollywood stereotype. So
Oh yeah, yeah, it
yeah,
absolutely is.
like basically basically you watch like any Hollywood film, and even when they show American troops fighting, it's kind of the same thing. Wind Talkers. Um, I don't know if you've seen that film. Like it's kind of similar to like they're showing like, this huge wave of American soldiers just running and getting mowed down by the Japanese.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
mean that's in that's yeah.
yeah,
I could name a dozen Hollywood movies where
yeah,
that's like how fighting is represented.
yeah.
That's not how it's done.
I mean, and like you said, like once in a while, like something like that could happen, but that's only if it's like necessary for a certain battle. Like it's crucial for a certain battle that one side wins, that they will throw meat waves in like one battle. Like if it's very vital for them to hold a certain position, yes, but it's not like this constant thing. It's not the standard military maneuver that's being used.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
mean the closest thing. I actually just finished some more books by John H. Poole. Wonderful, wonderful author on small unit tactics. I highly recommend. Um, but the closest thing that there is to that kind of Hollywood idea is it's called a human wave, but that's just the name for it. It's actually a single. So when you hear human wave, you think you take a unit, you stretch them out, and you push them. It's actually you take multiple units and you stretch them along. So if your objective is here, you stretch them along so they attack single file, they push up. It's often also called like a covering wave or covering push. And that's because instead of one unit being able to work along a front, you'll have five, six, seven working along a front, being the entire unit can support itself. They can cover each other and whatever, and you can get the whole, like a whole company or
Yeah.
whatever unit you one would be using.
Yeah,
So,
but for some reason, Hollywood, and not just Hollywood, but like even foreign films kind of fall into this
oh yeah, Chinese made
incorrect
films are the
portrayal.
worst.
Yeah, but it's like this incorrect portrayal of actual battles. And for example, The Last Samurai. Oh, bless you there. Yeah, The Last Samurai. Don't know if you've seen that movie before with Tom Cruise. So like I'm thinking, wait a minute, there's no way they could have lost that battle. Like, I mean, yes, I mean, like they could lose the battle, of course, but I'm thinking the way the movie's portraying it, and obviously the real battle did not happen that way, but um, going by the movie's logic, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, wait a minute, why are you guys like forming like why are you guys getting on your horses and just charging to battle? You guys had a perfect spot. Like you had the hills, those two hills covering you, right? And the enemy, like they're only using that one pass to get in. You guys literally like have this perfect strategic location where you guys could just mow them down right there, which you guys did in the beginning. Of course, even in the beginning, like it kind of made no sense. I'm thinking there's this huge explosion, yet somehow the enemy army survives somehow with that huge explosion, right? Or yet, or like the other half, the enemy army is not demoralized and they just want to keep fighting. That's one thing I don't get about Hollywood. Why does the enemy keep fighting? If whenever they see like huge explosions, they see like half their army's destroyed and then the rest of it's being mowed down. The enemy just wants to keep fighting for some reason, right? It's this stupid Hollywood like movie tactic, right? Like the enemy just keeps fighting, like despite
Hmm.
the fact that logically it makes no sense to keep fighting. And so I'm thinking, why are you guys leaving the hill? Why are you guys getting on your horses and just charging straight into machine gun fire? What? Why? You guys
Yeah.
literally had a perfect spot. Like for some reason, Hollywood has basically like has been shooting movies this way where it's always charging straight into battle all the time. You have movies about the Middle Ages, guys wearing heavy armor, carrying heavy shields with swords in one hand, shields in the other hand, just running a mile across the field and just charging into the enemy without losing any breath.
Yeah,
Like,
you can tell the people who make those movies have never run across a field because in reality, even if you don't have anything on you, you get halfway across the field and you're just like,
yeah,
eh.
yeah. Guess what? The enemy's gonna win.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. The Alamo, the
Hmm.
remake of the Alamo, and of course, both movies are kind of sensationalized, right? But at least the 1960s version, like it just kind of showed less cringe. They showed more
Oh,
battle
dude,
tactics, right?
The Witcher
Yeah.
was terrible with that. Like in the first season, have you seen that?
See what?
The Witcher?
Butcher. Oh, before we get to that, but I just want to just uh, finish off on the Alamo. The Alamo, basically the remake with Dennis Quaid. Like they show like post Alamo, the B Battle of Guadalupe Hidalgo, I think, and they're showing like the good guys, the Texans, just running across an open field straight into the Mexican fire. Why? You guys aren't tired? You gotta go, let's just keep running. And I'm thinking, dude, yeah, if that was a real battle, the Mexicans would have won. I don't care if they were outnumbered or surprised. I mean, and on top of that, like they have so much time to prepare. Like in the movie, the way the movie's portraying it, the Mexicans have lots of time to prepare. The Texans are too far away and they're running across the field. They'll be out of breath by the time they get there. But in the movie, they just kind of like just go charge. Oh, we win. So yeah, that's my whole point. Like I'm just tired of seeing that in movies. But you're talking about The Witcher.
Oh yeah, like in The Witcher in the first season, which by the way, the last season, terrible. Don't watch, not even worth your time. Ignore it. Literally watching my language, watching my language. That it's Skittles. It's
Oh,
Skittles.
it's that bad.
It's Skittles and it's Pride. The two different kinds. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Um People, it's
Well,
supposed to take place in medieval Poland.
well, I saw the first episode and I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna watch the rest of the show.
Yeah, like first
Not
season,
because of the
good.
Skittle stuff necessarily, but like because the first episode did not have that. But it was more like just the battle sequence.
Yeah, the quality's gone down too, but
I'm thinking, wait a minute, how are you giving orders in the middle of battle? You know?
yeah, no, but that does not work. You know what you hear because everything is loud and
Yeah,
screaming.
we have to
But
do this as you're fighting. Hey, your enemy could hear you too.
yeah,
Like,
in the first one,
yeah.
when like Nilfgaard invades, and it's literally just like the horses, then the guys attack. Like, no, that's not. There's like 1,000 books you people could read to see how it actually worked. It's not that hard. It takes like 5 minutes. That's
Yeah.
not how it works.
Also, this is a medieval army. You don't need like a huge army. What you could do, you could have like, I don't know, 50 guys who just march out. The main army, just divide it into different garrisons, separate them, like whole small towns, small forts, right? And like you could have 100 guys guard a fort somewhere, a fortress. and then they'll have contact with other garrisons. So in case one garrison is being surrounded, they can contact other garrisons to relieve them, right?
Yeah,
Like
don't watch The Witcher. It was bad. I'm
yeah.
mad that I even brought it up. Waste of time. Tragic. Don't.
Yeah, but this is how people view the modern war in Ukraine. They think it's a bunch of soldiers just charging into battle. They think this is, and that's how they perceived World War II. And World War II,
World War One, two.
even World War II was not like that. Like they had the trenches. So what you do, you and your unit, you attempt to take over an enemy trench. You take it over, boom, it's yours. It's your trench now, and now you got to hold it. And
Yeah,
if you don't make it, like you're losing, you get out of the trench and you run back to your trench for safety.
and
So
like
it wasn't these meat way.
most.
It was not these human ways. Oh yeah, 1,000 soldiers are going to keep attacking the same exact trench. No, generals they'll realize, wait a minute. So yeah, we attacked this trench twice. The enemy's really strong here. We cannot break through. So let's figure out a new strategy. Let's kind of attack in this direction in the
Yeah,
north, and then we'll focus on that area that we want on
like
that particular
90,
trench.
easily 90. And this isn't just me. Like I said, I'm an analyst, but I'm a pretty well-read analyst. I've read a lot of like military books, like manuals written by the guys who have been there, who have done that. 90% of fighting is actually just like small scale skirmishing because you don't throw a million dudes into a hole. One, that's a terrible idea. Two, it's untenable. You can't do that back to back to back. Nobody would do that. So there's a lot of small unit probing attacks, like the Storm Z units did, like the Wagnerians did, where it'd be 6, 7, 8 dudes poking around. Okay, we move 50 yards. Report back, move 50 yards, shuffle everything up 50 yards. Okay, we're going to poke 50 yards again. Poke forward 50 yards. Okay, there's a trench line. What can we do? Let's shell it. Let's send some drones over it. Okay, did that get it? Yes? No? Okay, move from there. Like, it's a lot of just shuffling forward small
Yeah,
units.
and of course, soldiers will die on both sides, even
Oh, yeah,
during a
yeah.
probing attack. Like you mentioned, probing attack, and the average person just does not comprehend like such ideas. What's a probing attack? What is this? And like you said, a probing attack is basically, you you send a small group of soldiers. It's not working
Yeah,
out. You
like
go from a
four
different
or five
direction.
dudes.
Yeah,
That's what a probing
like
attack is. 4 or 5 dudes, send them up. Oh, they got shot at. It's highly likely that nobody even died. Uh, and this goes for both sides too. Oh, nobody died.
yeah,
Okay, but they shot at us. Okay, we'll go to the
yeah,
map. We'll put a little red dot there. Okay, we know they're there. Okay, let's try over here. Rinse and
yeah.
repeat. After they've worked, it's like feeling in the dark,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Now during World War II, probing attacks could have been bigger. Of course, you could have an entire army do a probing attack, right? But no, I mean
That's
because
true.
you had a bigger front line, right? You had more room, so like they'll use one army to as a bait for the Germans, or vice versa for the Allies.
Yeah.
Germans, yeah, like vice versa. You'll have one army used as bait while one army is preparing for a secret attack somewhere else, right?
Yep.
And sometimes like they'll use like an army uh just to see the strength of the enemy, like will they allow us to break through this front line? Will they not? Okay, it's not going to happen. So the whole army just go back to your original lines, right?
Yeah.
Like
And
yeah,
mind you, one of the big reasons for that is because combat intelligence was so much less advanced than it is these days. These days, open up Telegram, go on Ukrainian Telegram. Oh, there they are. You have idiots posting on Instagram, where they're at. Oh, yeah, there they are. Fire a missile right there.
yeah.
Then that wasn't a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you have like we have like drones, and you don't need like expensive drones too. You get like a basic drone, fly around, see, oh look, there's enemies crawling through here. Okay, you have
Yeah,
20
DJI
guys right
Mavic is
here.
like $500.
Yeah, yeah, and on top of that, like Russia and Ukraine, they're not fighting like a big World War II war here. Like it's actually a lot smaller in scale, and like we mentioned this before, like the Russian military is using between 10 or 20% of its might. Like Russia is not fighting at 100%. Ukraine is fighting at 100% capacity.
Hmm.
And while Russia is not fighting at 100%, if they wanted to, like they would totally win. But right now, Russia is just taking its time and it's just like milking the cow.
Why would they be doing that? That's a wonderful question.
Well, because it's also political and geopolitical, right? So
Yeah.
like Russia's being sanctioned, and for some reason, like the sanctions are not working. Russia's economy is booming. And the
Yeah,
mainstream media
they
is not
got
admitting that.
stronger. You
Yeah.
idiots. That didn't work.
Yeah. So like,
Congratulations.
yeah.
You just
So
pushed the two people you did not want working together, Russia and China, and you pushed them into the same corner. Good job. Good job.
but still, Russia's invasion of Ukraine is not justified.
We had to do something. Okay. Your child is drowning. Go shoot them. Yeah, that's the same kind of stream of thought.
Like, and oh, okay. Now, Spy, you froze for a second.
Hello. Hello,
Okay,
Altmars.
yeah,
I'm back.
yeah.
Don't
Let
worry,
me.
I was just evil maxing.
Yeah, so yeah, like that's what it is. But still, it was not justified. So the 8 years of Ukraine murdering its own citizens, like, was that justified? All this happening on Russia's border,
Yeah.
but like, was that justified? 8 years, Ukraine putting political prisoners into prison for 8 years in a row, was that justified?
It's the same hippie
Yeah.
garbage. I thought we were past this. Blows up school full of Palestinian children. Like, you people. May Allah blind you.
No, but seriously, I think it's just kind of stupid. Whenever people talk about Russia had no justification, okay, like ignore what I said about Ukraine murdering its own citizens for 8 years, terrorizing their own citizens for simply wanting to be left alone. Like, and again, like being responsible for also attacking the Orthodox Church for 8 years in a row prior to Russia's invasion. Like, ignore what I just said, like ignore all that, and just simply go by the logical reasons that, hey, okay, Ukraine is a country that has historical ties to Russia, right? This is
Yes.
just a basic normie. I'm just giving you basic normie stuff. Like I could go deeper into the more nuanced stuff. But like I'm just saying, here's the basic Putin normie narrative, right? Hey, like we have close ties together historically, and we just cannot be separated. Sorry, right? By tradition, by history, by geopolitics, and plus culture. And like we have families on both sides
Or
with
even
there's Russian
even to get
families who
more
live in Ukraine,
simple.
there's Ukrainian families who live in Russia. It's interconnected. You just cannot just separate people like this. And on top of that, like why would you put a NATO base so close to Russia's border? Like Sweden already makes sense because it was always Western Europe, quote unquote. But basically, like Sweden, Norway, whatever, like that's different, right? That was like NATO was always there. But guys, don't take away, people who are connected to us and uh people over there felt this connection to us and we feel connection to them. That's like Russia's logic. That's the norm. That's like the normie basic logic. Don't do
Yeah.
this, right?
You can make
And,
it even
and
simpler.
the warning was there since 2006, 2008, 2012, 2014. That's when things got worse. But like, here's the thing. Like the Lugansk and Donetsk rebels, they were extremely ticked off at Russia for not invading earlier. Because if Russia really wanted to, if Putin wanted to, he could have literally just sent troops to Donetsk and Lugansk like this and Kharkiv region. The Kharkiv region had a lot more pro-Russian protesters than Donetsk and Lugansk combined. The Kharkiv region was the biggest one, but like there was a big mess that happened there, and so a lot of the supporters just ran down to Donetsk and Lugansk. But here's the thing: if Russia wanted to, they could have done the same thing they did with Crimea, just like show up there with a small like force, a tiny force, and boom, Donetsk and Lugansk and Kharkiv possibly would have been under Russian control, And because Donetsk and Lugansk, they also did their own referendum thing without Russian troops being present. And so if Russian troops were there and the referendum happened in Donetsk and Lugansk, Ukraine would not be sending bombers to bomb the cities. And there would not have been any civil war in the Donbass region. But unfortunately for the Donbass rebels, Russia never invaded that area. Like Russia never pulled off the Crimea scenario. And so for 8 years, like the people in Donetsk and Lugansk are just wondering, is Russia ever going to come save us? Putin was actually restraining himself from going in there and offering, Zelensky, hey, listen, Zelensky, like make a deal with the Donetsk, Lugansk people. Okay, we have the Minsk Accords for a reason, right? Like basically follow the Minsk Accords, make a deal, give the Donetsk and Lugansk people like the bare minimum, basically they'll either accept full independence or joining Russia, or the third option that they would have accepted was receiving like full autonomy, similar to what a state would be here in the United States. Like they would have received full autonomy. So if Ukraine joined the EU, for example, then Lugansk and Donetsk, they would have kind of been able to overwrite certain laws and regulations that the EU could impose on Ukraine. That's like the third option. So the first option was basically join Russia. Option number two was basically be independent republics, or three, become federative states within Ukraine. And Putin was pushing for that. Like he was offering that to Zelensky, saying, "Hey, listen, okay, like I'll not take Donetsk or Lugansk, and you now, will not recognize their independence, but let's do this. Give them a make them federative states, kind of give them autonomy." And for 8 years in a row, Putin was offering that to Poroshenko, and then to Zelensky, and then you have all of this whole warnings about don't let Ukraine join NATO. And here's the thing: Putin restrained himself for 8 years in a row. Putin restrained himself for 8 years in a row. The only thing that he basically was able to capture was Crimea. But here's the thing: in Crimea, Crimea was more strategically was more important for Putin, because if they did nothing in Crimea, one, there would have been a civil war in Crimea, because there were Crimean rebels arming themselves. There were many Crimean police officers who were angry at the whole Maidan situation. The Berkut units from Crimea, who just returned from Kiev, they were angry. And then, like, it would have just been a civil war. And if the Crimean rebels, if they were crushed, then guess what? Crimea would have been part of, would have probably um, expelled the Russian military bases, because by the way, like the new government was even like they were basically ripping up the contracts with Russia regarding Crimea. So Russia could not lose that naval base. So that's why Putin invaded Crimea. Strategically, it was like more important than the whole Donbass region. But the whole Donbass situation, Putin restrained himself, said, "Hey guys, come on, like make these guys like some federative states or something, and make them autonomous." For 8 years in a row, he's been kind of like restraining himself from the whole Donbass region. So Ukraine had time. Ukraine had lots of time to think about this, which side they should choose, how they should act, and they decided, hey, the West will back us up no matter what we do. So let's just keep provoking, 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 and boom, you get what you get. Sorry,
Oh yeah,
that was me just rambling,
yeah, no,
going on
you're
a
good.
rant.
I was just gonna say, like, it doesn't even need to be like as complex as shared lineage, shared cultures. It can just be as simple as Russia said, stop moving east, stop advancing east. We had an agreement that you would not advance anymore. And America advances, Russia does something. Russia, or my bad, America acts shocked that Russia does something. Like, what? Do you kick a dog and get mad when it bites you? No. You call yourself an idiot for kicking a dog. in the first place. But people tend to tend not to, think that much.
Yeah. Well, hey, let me read the chats. Someone's typing. Okay, best gamer JJ. Hi, Alt Marcus. Been a subscriber to your channel for a few months. Keep up the good work with your content. It's like the same thing with Iran. They were sanctioned. They managed to get stronger. It doesn't take a lot to find Ukrainian crimes in Telegram. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's interesting is that the Ukrainian military was also kind of committing crimes against their own population right when Russians was invading. There was a video. Unfortunately, I did not save this video, but like it was literally like a month after Russia's invasion. It was in the Kharkiv, it was in the city of Kharkiv, and so civilians, like they're walking up to soldiers, and it's a large group of civilians, and they're talking to the soldiers, and they're telling them, "Hey guys, listen. So you have your artillery pieces, right next to the school right here. You have them right next to this residential building right here. Can you guys move your artillery somewhere else? Because the Russians, like they'll like basically they'll be trying to attack your artillery, but they'll probably just most likely just also hit us because, it's right next to our buildings. So can you like move them somewhere else?" And the Ukrainian soldier talking to the civilian says, "You're lying. That's not true. Like, I don't know what you're talking about." So again, a second time, they're telling the Ukrainian soldier, "No, like they're right there. They're right next to the school. Move your artillery away from the school, away from the residential building." The Ukrainian soldier keeps denying it. He's saying, "No, they're not there. I don't know what you're talking about." And they're telling him, "Yeah, yeah, like they're telling him, listen, like we'll take you there right now, and we'll show you, your artillery is right next, right next to the school and right next to the residential building." Eventually, the Ukrainian guy gets angry and he starts yelling at the civilians and he starts asking them, "Oh, so like, are you trying to give away our positions? Is that what you want? Are you trying to give away our positions?" So, okay, so you're admitting that you have artillery right next to the school, right next to the residential building. You know? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hell, they've. Do you remember? I don't remember exactly the year this was, but when the Azov dudes cut the head off of a Donetsk militiaman,
I don't
they
know.
cut his
Like,
head off, and then they were showing pictures online and bragging about it. It was kind of. I'm not one to like. It doesn't really bother me. Gore doesn't really bother me much, but like, know, that's that's not something you do. it's just a general rule. You don't do that. But like they were like Azov fans were laughing and cheering. Oh, look at that, dude! That's so cool. Like, no, that's gonna come back to haunt you. Like, I'm serious. It's gonna come back to haunt you.
what's funny is that like a lot of the Azov boys, they'll talk about, "Oh, those innocent Ukrainian children." I'm thinking, dude, what are you talking about? You literally like refer to the people in Donetsk and Lugansk as subhuman, but wait a minute, aren't they part of Ukraine? Right? Like, what's going on here? So, like, yeah,
It's Schrodinger's brother war. That's what it is. If like Ukraine and Russia are simultaneously in a brother war, but they're also not the same people, and Ukrainians are completely, unique. But it's also a brother war, so it's bad. Pick one. Pick one,
yeah,
people. Like really,
yeah,
think about the words you say.
yeah. But the Ukrainian military, especially Azov, and by the way, I'm wearing the hat. Where's Azov right here? This the Azov symbol. Look at my guy, just like taking a whiz. Yeah. But basically, yeah, Azov and Idar and Tornado. On Tornado, there are a bunch of maps. Um, yeah. But basically, like all these people have been
He
committing
said the
war
word.
crimes.
Oh
Where
God, use that word. All right, buddy. I'm gonna
what's
need to
going
take you
on?
out, old yeller.
You gotta take out Tornado because
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah,
What
so
a bunch of
like
creeps.
yeah, so like basically like they're doing all this creepy, crazy stuff for 8 years in a row. And for some reason, for some reason, oh, Russia's committing all these war crimes. I'm thinking, guys, like, like, how come, like people are not respond? How come, like, people were so ignorant and silent for 8 years in a row, but then Russia invades all of a sudden, it's like the worst thing ever.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's similar to the Israel thing, right? People come out of the something happens. People come out of the woodwork. Oh my God, it's so terrible. How could this happen? Point to Israel on a map. I'm serious. Point
yeah.
to like,
So, like, basically, like, the Palestinians have been living in, like, basically in an open air concentration camp. They're constantly being murdered every year. And
yeah,
like, yeah, so like you have family. It's not just like children avenging their parents. It's also parents avenging their children, right? So, like, affects
yeah,
everyone. It affects everyone. It's someone avenging their uncle, or their uncle. Someone's uncle
or
is
their
avenging
grandfather.
their nephew. Like my niece. Something like that. Like,
Yeah.
basically, like, this is happening for like I don't know, for like the past 100 years now. And
Mhm.
well, not 100 years, maybe what, 70 years, probably
It's
60
a little
years.
more than 80.
Yeah. So basically, like, it's been going on like this every single year. And then, like, all of a sudden October 7th happens. Oh, this horrible tragedy. And again, we're not saying like civilians should be hurt, but at the same time, like, like, where were you when another tragedy was happening? A tragedy
Yeah.
that was not being reported on the news. Where were
Mhm.
you? You have Google, you have the internet.
Yeah. You can
Yeah.
you can just Google current conflicts
Yeah.
and you can see all of the awful things happening, and pick one or two to cry about, but
What's
don't
funny,
don't
well,
come
yeah.
complaining when they start broadcasting it on television, acting like it's the only time it's happening, right?
Yeah.
It's like the people who can't. Okay, actually, I'm not going to go there because that's a little spicy, right? But just know there's somewhere I could have gone. But we have another thing we could go to. People act like certain tragedy, there's only been one or two tragedies in history. A million Rwandans got killed in 100 days with sticks and machetes. I guarantee a lot of the people complaining about Ukraine and Israel, they watched that on television as it happened, and they probably complained, "Oh my God, this is so horrible." Memory hold. As soon as the talking television screen tells them to forget about it, they forget about it. They only people only care about tragedies so long as it's socially acceptable. Is one of the problems. It's a very unchristian like thing. You got me complaining about people acting unchristian. That's
Yeah.
something.
That here's the thing. It's a Protestant. It's a Protestant thing to act this way.
Yeah, that's true.
To
That's
act
true.
hypocrisy is a Protestant trait.
Very
Yeah.
true.
But that's another deep argument we could get into on another stream. But
Yeah,
basically,
let's not go down
yeah,
that.
no, but basically, like, I noticed that whenever I bring up the 8 years of war crimes, genocide committed by Ukraine, that's just brushed off as if Russia's invasion is still somehow worse.
Or
Like,
even worse,
yeah,
I've talked to people and they say like, well, they shouldn't have caused trouble with the federal government of Ukraine,
or
or
you're talking
they'll
about the
just
Donetsk,
outright deny. Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah. So basically, they're
yeah.
saying, oh,
Like people will either say, well,
yeah. Well, hold on, William. The Donetsk and Lugansk people, technically, from a legal standpoint, from a purely legalistic Ukrainian constitutional standpoint, the Donetsk and Lugansk rebels were technically loyalists, while the Maidan coup was illegal. It had, like, no validity according
yeah,
to the Ukrainian constitution. Like, and despite the fact that I hate democracy and republicanism, right? But still, we're going by legalistic standards. And according to Ukraine's constitution, the coup was illegal. And the whole ousting the president, why? Because he was not in the country. That's not a crime against the Ukrainian
let's get Dune
constitution.
pilled. I believe in democracy so long as it's useful. Yeah, let's get Dune pilled, man.
Yeah.
We on we with the Muad'Dib, boy.
Yeah,
We
but
leading
what's
the
fun?
jihad.
Yeah, no, so yeah, so you, like, basically people who bring up the whole idea that Donetsk, Lugansk had no right to rebel and they would have looked fine. Well, wait a minute, why should they accept? First of all, they're also voters. Majority of them voted for the president that was ousted. Like, why are they forced to submit to something they did not vote to and something that was implemented through an illegal anti-constitutional coup? So yes, the
Yeah,
Donetsk
yeah,
and Lugansk rebels are actually law-abiding citizens, supporting basically fighting. They're basically the original heroes of Ukraine, while the
yeah.
so-called Ukrainian patriots are actually the enemies of Ukraine since 2014. Like if we're simply going by legalistic, standpoints, like that's what it is. Like it's
Yeah,
basically
definitely. I
the
mean,
Donetsk rebels were never really rebels. They're always the loyalists, and just like the Lugansk guys. And the Crimean people realized, wait a minute, if if the Ukrainian government, which is supposed to submit itself to the Ukrainian constitution, violates its own constitution, then their government no longer exists. If the president is gone, if their president is gone, the Ukrainian president is no longer the president, and the Ukrainian government violated the constitution and swore to uphold. That means all bets are off, and Crimea is saying, "Okay, fine. You know what? If you're going to be like that, well, secession it is." The Crimean local government in Crimea, they voted referendum. Let's have a referendum. Let's get out of here. Let's get out of Ukraine. Yeah, and then of course Russia assisted with a handful of troops. Half the troops in Crimea joined the Russian troops, by the way. Like that part of the story is never told. That like
yeah.
half of the, and not even half, like half plus, like they're like maybe I don't know, like if we were to measure, I don't know, like 52%, 53%, something like that. Like majority of the Ukrainian soldiers that were in Crimea joined the Russian soldiers. And the Russian soldiers that were in Crimea was they were a handful of soldiers. Like if Mexican soldiers were walking around El Paso, like yeah, Mexico like it would be counter invaded immediately. Like we would have tanks going into Mexico's border trying to push back the Mexicans, further away.
I don't think
But
so. I actually
but
think my beautiful future wife AOC would be launching a peace summit to make sure nothing bad
yeah,
happens. AOC, I love
yeah.
you. Please notice
Yeah,
me.
but let's just say pre-AOC, kind of, in 2014, right? If there were
Oh yeah.
Mexican troops walking around El Paso, just walking around El Paso and claiming El Paso for themselves, like a handful of troops, like no big military equipment, nothing. Like first of all, those Mexican troops would be, shot on the spot, and then Mexico would be counter invaded to kind of, push Mexico back and calm them down. Yet for some reason in Crimea, like you have random Russian troops, like you have five guys walking down one street, five guys walking down the other street, just walking around. The cops, they don't do nothing. They're just shaking hands with them, saying, "Hey, what's up, bro? How's it going, man?" Random civilians taking selfies with the soldiers, and then
Yeah, I remember when that
and then
happened.
here's the thing, like every single military base that was in Crimea, Russian soldiers, again, like five guys would walk up to a military base, be like, "Hey, open up." Like open up and surrender. And they'll open the gates. They'll open the gates. Hey, what's up, guys? You're coming in, Oh yeah, take down the Ukraine flag. Sure, no problem, boss. Whatever you say, boss. It's like sure,
Yeah,
you know.
yes, boss, sure thing. We
Like
don't be taking that
for
flag
example,
down.
like the Crimean Military Academy for young boys, right? So there's a military academy for young boys in Crimea. Like literally, like 90% of the students, 90% of the staff, like they kind of did the whole ceremonial, put the Ukrainian flag down, and then they kind of put the Russian flag up, right? And there's only like a small portion, like a tiny portion of students who are still kind of loyal to Ukraine, and they're kind of in the corner singing, "Long live Ukraine," like in their own little corner sobbing. But majority of their other fellow students were kind of just proudly, just standing at formation and, just viewing the raising of the Russian flag over their academy, right? And so you would think that there would be. So here's the thing: in 2014, like you would think that like if Russia was and Ukraine were actually at war in 2014, there would be an actual war, but there was no war, right? You basically had like a huge amount of soldiers just being let go. Like so, the Ukrainian soldiers who chose not to side with Russia, they were given a bunch of city buses and said, "Right, goodbye. Have a nice day. Uh, go into Ukraine." Boom, that's it. Right? It was taken over peacefully. Like there were no shots fired when Crimea was taken over.
I what wasn't there like one or two small skirmishes, or was it completely peaceful?
Like, well, like it was mostly peaceful, like mostly peaceful protesters. Yeah, yeah. It was mostly peaceful. No, well, I mean, like, I think there was, like,
Yeah,
basically, I think there was a story of some Marines, like the Ukrainian Marines,
I
like,
think I
they're
remember
shooting, they're shooting for a while, but like, it stopped really quick, and
there
there was
was
a diplomatic, there was some diplomacy, and the Marines basically left the base, and
yeah, there
they
was
were
that
gone.
one Russian officer, Georgy Floydovsky, who got shot in
Yeah,
that mostly peaceful,
mostly peaceful takeover.
mostly
Yeah.
peaceful
Well,
takeover.
it basically was. I mean, like there, aside from that, like one incident, like there was like nothing else. Like
It's
basically, Ukraine
it's
was
just
taken over,
funny.
not Ukraine, but Crimea was taken over peacefully, and like there was no war. Ukraine did not go to war with Russia.
It's just funny finally being
Yeah,
able to say that and like knowing that it
yeah,
angers people saying that.
yeah. So yeah, so the thing is, when people talk about, even today, people talk about, Russia should give Crimea back to Ukraine. Why? Because here's the thing: if Russian soldiers leave Crimea, you're going to have a civil war in Crimea. Because majority of the population they'll just block off the road that enters that kind of the road that borders Ukraine and Crimea. The local population they'll basically block it off, and there'll be a war with Ukraine. So even if Russian troops left Crimea, right, the Ukrainian troops will not be welcomed there by the civilians. They'll simply just repeat 2014, and they'll have like their own militias ready on standby. And then
Mm-hmm.
there'll be Russian retired soldiers also on standby, So
Yeah,
it'll be just a repeat. And so Crimea will never go back to Ukraine ever. Uh,
hopefully
Crimeans
not.
Crimeans are not going to repeat the mistake of 1991. They're going to say no. Like
Mm-hmm.
basically 2014 showed that they're not going to do that. And that's Ukraine's fault. Ukraine literally had an illegal coup in 2014, and that's where it all spiraled, just went, yeah, like
I
just
mean, this war, hot take. This war was easy to. You could have predicted this from the moment that Ukraine got Crimea. Russia has waged so many wars trying to take and hold on to Crimea throughout its history. There's literally like an entire Wikipedia section about Crimean wars.
yeah,
Let me remind you, by the way, also that England sided with the Turks a lot
yeah.
in those. So
Typical Angloid behavior. So what do you expect? What do you expect
typical
from the Angloid
Angloids.
merchants?
I expect nothing less from a filthy Angloid. Only a true, that's true with a V instead of a U. Only a true Mongoloid like me can actually understand things like this. Is Mongoloid an okay word?
Yeah, I think so. Well,
Okay.
I mean, you're Czech, so you're basically Mongoloid. So
Yeah, I am a Mongoloid. That is
yeah,
what we are. We are that.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, so yeah, it looks like this whole Avdiivka victory
Mhm.
looks like it's completely just demoralizing the Ukrainian military.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like I think at this point the Ukrainian military is just gonna start surrendering a lot, and you're starting to see a lot more surrendering going on. In the beginning of the war in 2022, you've seen a lot of surrendering, and then like basically after that, like you had like a bunch of idealistic young men fighting, and then like after that, like after Avdiivka, you start to see a repeat of the beginning of the
Yeah.
war, where Ukrainians are demoralized again. Because in the beginning of the war, Russians were literally like 30 minutes away outside of Kiev, the city of Kiev. Like they're literally like that close. And outnumbered. They were outnumbered. There were not millions of Russians. No, they were outnumbered. And they're still able to just kind of hold off the Ukrainian army in the Kiev Oblast. And so Yeah, and so like we're starting to see a repeat. Like we're Ukrainians are starting to realize, wait a minute, like Russia doesn't have that many troops, yet they're still like able to obliterate us, right?
Yeah.
And the morale is just going down. So yeah.
I mean, I think it was Fox. I know News World Atlas, which is pro-Russian. It's a Western pro-Russian media, but I think they cited like Fox. They were rattling off the numbers of like weapons production and how in I think it's like in a month Russia makes what America makes. No, in a month Russia makes like four times of what America makes in artillery shells in a whole year. And in like that's just America, but also the other EU, NATO countries, which are just American puppets. All the other NATO countries also have the same issue where like they've completely given up weapons production so they can focus on like the free Fukuyaman world. They literally got so high off their own supply, thinking that like Francis Fukuyama end of history would happen, that they forgot to make weapons. And they didn't even like remember. They're having to recall 40-year-old dudes or something like that. I actually, yeah, Stingers are like 40 years old. They're having to recall like dudes who've been retired for decades to make Stinger and Javelin missiles because they didn't have the capability to produce more. Like, dude, guys,
Yes,
it's over. The
it's
West is
over.
falling.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, like I guess like we like covered like a lot of ground today. What do you say?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. Yeah, guys. So yeah, I guess that's it. We just wanted to just talk about how
Yep.
Russia successfully captured Avdiivka and then like literally four more towns after that, all in a week.
Yeah, and
So
it's
yeah.
gonna fingers crossed it keeps going quick
Yeah, and
because we
that's what it looks like it's happened. That's what it looks like it
Mhm.
is happening right now. It looks like because let me just try to share the screen with you guys.
Yeah, go ahead.
Um
Do I
let's
have? I
see.
totally have a red mark on my forehead. That's not
Uh-oh.
good.
All right. So I'm going to share the screen and let's okay. I don't know if you guys could see the map. Um hope you guys could see it. Um so like Bakhmut is right here, and then you have um west of it. I can't find it. So Ivanovsky, Kalinovka. Where's Avdiivka? Should be like a little bit not too far from that area. Yeah. So yeah, I see Bakhmut. I don't see Avdiivka.
Uh, wait, no. Um,
I might have to zoom in a little bit more.
just type it into the search bar.
Hold on. I'm
We
still
have
gonna
this technology, my friend.
hold on. So here's Gorlovka. Um, there's New York. There's the New York guys. New York. Yeah. But the way they spelled it, it's kind of interesting.
New
NIU. I mean, just
New
do the
York.
regular, write the EW, why IU? Just so
Because
weird.
it's like it's Ukrainian, so it's completely
Oh yeah,
new.
so just come on, like if you're going like translate for English speakers, just do New York,
This is like when a kid
Yeah.
writes a book and it's like so unoriginal that it's like all the same, but it's spelled slightly different. They're like, nobody will
Yeah.
ever see it.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, but here's Bakhmut right here. And so like the Russians people say that like it looks like next on the list might be Konstantinovka. Konstantinovka is right here. And do you see that on a
Yeah, yeah,
spy?
yeah. I can see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, so Konstantinovka, it's my ex wife's city, so like like that city I hope like gets destroyed. I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
you're awful. And you
Like
call yourself a
yeah,
Christian.
yeah. Yeah. Uh, like I just want to like kind of like rub it in her face. Well, yeah, your hometown, yeah. This is
What
your
up?
hometown right here.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
You gotta like show
yeah,
up
like
blasting music.
yeah, but
Like, hey, hey.
Konstantinovka, like it seems like that might be the next candidate for a major battle. But knowing
Whew.
Ukrainians might dig in somewhere else, some other location. But Konstantinovka could be the next one, or
I mean,
some
let's
people say
hope.
it might even be Kramatorsk or Slavyansk. And
Let's hope
I
they
remember
just keep
watching, yeah,
and they don't have a chance to dig in because that's one of the things. If they slow down, then the Ukrainians can dig in again.
yeah,
So let's just hope they keep pushing.
yeah.
Because
Well,
I'm
like
tired of paying more tax money.
yeah. So yeah, like that's the whole situation, guys. So like, share, subscribe. Also go to the links that I have in the description.
Check out the
Buy
merch.
Yeah, check out the merch or buy the merch and also go to the Streamlabs link. Just donate, send us a donation because I gotta give Not a Spy a living wage because this guy, he's literally starving. He's about to be on the streets, and it's because of you guys. Like, if he goes homeless, it's your fault, guys, for not sponsoring this channel. So, yeah,
Alms
you
for the
see,
poor.
yeah, he's already like he's already getting there. See, yeah, so guys, buy the merch or just support the channel through donations through Streamlabs. And so, yeah, and just don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And God bless you guys, and you have a good night.
God bless.